Hello and welcome to Tabletop Modern Miniatures. Today we're going to be having a look at some board terrain, specifically this one that I made the other day. I've never really done anything terrain wise before, so I kind of watched a few basic videos on YouTube, sort of tutorial wise, and I just kind of decided to give it a go. And I've come up with this, and to be perfectly honest, I'm pretty pleased with it. In terms of the actual building itself, I cheated a little bit. I bought a few ready-made buildings from somebody that was selling them. Just they hadn't been painted up, so they were still in their kind of MDF state, but they'd already been built. So I didn't have to go through that process. But I have built one before, and it didn't really take that long to do. But yeah, I decided just to give it a go and see how it turned out. And to be honest, I'm quite happy with it. I've added a few kind of little extras as a palette on the top. That's mainly just to take the roof board out, and added a few logs here, and there's a few sort of bits of foliage that I've glued on as well. But I thought maybe today I would go through the process of making a building to this kind of finished state that I would be putting on my board and playing with. So that's the plan. I've got this building here, which that started off in this state. So the idea is that we will do this building in the same process, using the same process I followed for this one, and hopefully it will end up in the same state as that one, the same sort of colour and texture and whatever else. So that's the plan. Stick around, and hopefully you'll be able to follow my little tutorial. Just before we go on to that, thank you very much for the people that have interacted with my channel so far. I've had some people comment, and I've even had a few subscribers, which is great, and people watching my my first couple of videos. So thank you very much for that. And as always, if there's any tips or anything you have for this, then please leave a comment. Everything is greatly appreciated. But enough of that. Let's get on with painting this one up to look like this. So first things first, what we're going to need to begin with. So in reality, if you've bought this as a kit, you would have made this. The one that I made before, I just used PVA glue just to make the building up, and that was sort of sturdy enough. So we've obviously cheated. We've already got a building that's made, so we're just going to move on to the next step. So this is general all-purpose filler. You'd use it on a wall if there was a hole or a nail hole that you want it to fill in or something like that. I just bought the cheapest one in. This might have even just been from Asda or something like that. It doesn't need to be anything special. It doesn't need to cost the earth. Got a little pot which I'm going to put the filler into. And then I'm going to add a little bit of water to make it into a bit more of a paste, like a runny sort of, not runny, but a bit more of a paste. It's quite thick and gloopy when you look inside. So we just want to water it down a little bit. And then just the paintbrush, I've just gone for quite a big old cheap paintbrush I had laying around, just for the application of the filler onto the building. And then the only other thing that I haven't got here is a stirring stick, just one of these, just to give that a stir when I've added the water, just to mix it up. So I'm going to put some of that in there, add a bit of water, and then I'll kind of show the consistency that I went for when applying it to the building. Right, so I've added some filler and some water and kind of just mixed it up. And I kind of make it into this consistency. It's not super runny, but it's also not gloopy still. So sorry, I just moved my hand out of the way. So that's the kind of consistency that, if you can see it, kind of dripping off of the stick there. So what I'm going to do now is just put a mat down just to keep things a little bit tidy. And then we'll get on with it. So the general idea is just we want to create a bit of an uneven spread of this filler on the building. So all I'm going to do is dip the end of the brush in and basically just dab away until the whole thing's covered, really. I will do kind of a little bit into the building because these are kind of open doors, but when I take the roof part off, in fact I'm going to do that now because I'll do that separately. I'm not going to do the inside, I'm just going to leave that as it is, and then we'll spray paint that in a little bit. But we'll get started and start dabbing some of this filler onto the model building. So again, you just need to be mindful of when it dries. You don't want it super thin, like a super thin layer necessarily, I don't think, because you want that texture to come through. So certain bits you just want to leave a little bit chunkier than others, just to provide that kind of texture. But that's the kind of look that we're going for. If I can try and zoom in, we will see a little bit better. There we go. So yeah, that's the kind of texture that I'm after, I think. If you feel like you're running out, just get a tiny bit more on. Be kind of generous with it is what I've decided. And again, yeah, we just want to get into those corners. Maybe around the sort of archways and things like that, just kind of into the building a little bit. All on the wall. But yeah, just to give us some texture really. Hopefully the focus is there. Hang on. Let the camera sort itself out. Yeah, there we go. So we can kind of see the texture, and it's kind of hard to see from here what it's going to look like when it's been spray painted, because I found this on the one that I did before, but stick with it and it will look good. So I'm just going to continue off camera to do the rest of it, and I'll show the end result once it's all done and fillered up, and then we'll go on to the next stage. Okay, so I've finished off the building, and this is the sort of end result. That's the roof panel. Again, hopefully you can just see a little bit of texture. Actually, that works quite well with the shadows. You can just see what kind of texture that's going to give in the finished state. So yeah, again, all it was just dip in and dab in the paintbrush. This is still quite wet, but dip in and dab in the paintbrush all around the model just to give it a bit of an uneven look. So when that is dry, we will then look to spray paint it with a bit of a base coat. So that's the plan. We'll let it dry and then we'll come back and do some spray painting shortly. Okay, so this is now dry. The whole building is good to be painted. Just one little thing that we'll do prior to painting is anything that's on the inside of here that might stop that roof going back on, I'll just file off quickly. But yeah, essentially we'll be painting. The next phase, just have a quick look at the paints that we'll be using. So I'll get this stuff filed off quickly, and then we'll have a look at the paints. So first things first, we are going to do a base coat. I like to use, or I have just been using, mainly because I had it for some models, is the Army Painter Colour Primer, and this one specifically is Colour Primer Uniform Grey. So part of what gives it that kind of dirty, I guess, look is having a bit of a darker base colour. So that's what I'm going to go for first. I'll spray the whole thing grey, and then after that, so I've got an airbrush and I use the Vallejo Model Air stuff. This is just black. However, I guess you could probably get the same look if you were to use like an actual spray can, but you just have to be a little bit careful about where you're spraying. But I'll spray in the corners, around the edges, sort of over the arch, the areas that are going to look probably a little bit dirtier than the rest of it. I'm not going to spray the whole thing, but I'll show that on camera anyway, just to give it that kind of a darker look around the areas that you would naturally expect to be a bit darker. And then to finish it off, we've got a desert sand matte finish, which is by Colourforge, and it's a primer, it says, but I'll use it on the top, and that is what will make it look this colour. So we can see there's a little bit of underlying darker tones, blacks and stuff, if you can see that on camera. Just again to make it a little bit dirtier, kind of a sandy, sort of muddy, dirty kind of terrain. So yeah, those are the three colours that we'll be using, and once we've gone through all of those, we should be good to kind of just decorate it really, and put a bit of foliage there, and some other bits that kind of make sense for the building. So I'm going to go outside now and spray it grey, and then we'll have a look at what that looks like after, and then we'll move on to the airbrush with the black, see what that looks like. So we'll be back shortly. So here we are after the grey base coat spray painting. It's all fully dry. As you can see, I've literally just spray painted everywhere. So it's starting to get there. So the next stage, as we previously mentioned, was just going over some of these sort of corner areas, the areas that I kind of want to be a little bit more dirty with some black paint. So I'm going to use my airbrush, and we'll get those sort of black areas airbrushed in. So I'll just set it up and we'll get going. Okay, so I've just given it a very quick test, make sure it's working okay. It seems to be. So I'm not being particularly neat with it. Hopefully we can see that on the camera. I'm not being particularly neat with it, but I just want to just kind of I don't know what's happening with the airbrush there. Okay, I'm going to have to fix that and then we'll come back to it. Okay, so I don't know if it's quite fixed, but we'll just keep going with it, and I'll have to give it a proper clean and sort of a purge through later on, but we'll give it a go for now and see how we get on. Yeah, we're still doing the same. I'm just going to have to just keep the bubbles down so they don't all overflow. Anyway, technical issue here, but never mind. Right, well, just whilst my compressors just gets more air in, hopefully that gives a general gist of what we're looking for. So I'll just go on and complete the rest of the building, and then show you how it's turned out in a minute. Okay, so I've just gone over the house really quickly. As I say, we don't want to make it too dark. Hopefully we can see that on camera. Just making it a bit darker in some of the corners. And hopefully it will show through when we go on to the desert sand spray paint, and there's the roof as well. So again, it's just to make it look a little bit more worn, a little bit used, things like that. So I'll give that a couple more minutes to dry. I'll try and sort my airbrush out quick, and then I'll look at moving on to the desert sand colour. Okay, so that's had a few minutes to dry. So as I showed earlier, the Colourforge Desert Sand is what we're going to be using now. So I'll go outside, give it a spray, and we'll have a look at the results when it's dry. Okay, so here we are with the almost finished end product. So we've had the Desert Sand sprayed on there now. Over the whole thing. I think if I'm being really sort of self-critical, it was a little bit windy outside when I was doing it, and the spray wasn't sort of landing evenly, so I think I kind of, as I sprayed, missed it and thought, oh, I need to go back on that. Some went on, but I kind of then sprayed a little bit too much, so some of the black has come through, sort of on the back of the walls. Hopefully you can see that on camera. You can see a little tinge of black coming through, which kind of, as we said at the start, the aim was to make it sort of used and dirty and whatever else. So I think it's come through all right on the top. But yes, being self-critical, I could have just laid off a little bit of the desert sand. There's a big sort of patch here, but it doesn't look out of place. So we're now going to look at just adding a few little bits to it, just to kind of make it look a little bit more like an actual building. So we've got, this is kind of scenics, grass, bushes, from any kind of model shop. I think this was from Hobbycraft. And then if I want to put it on, I've got, I mean, I've bought a bag of twigs, but you can go out and pick some twigs from your from a bush or a tree or whatever. But these are particularly straight. I think they were next to nothing anyway. So we might just break one of those up and stick one of those on there for effect. And I'll see if there's anything else that I've got that I might stick on there to look good. So we'll start sticking some stuff on. I'll move the camera just so you can see what I'm doing, and then yeah, hopefully we'll get to the end product shortly. Okay, so I might just look at pasting some of this sort of foliage, bushes type stuff, maybe just in the corner here and at the front there, just to give it something a little bit different. And then I found there's a couple of pallets that I'd had made up, and we'll get this stick cut up as well, and I might just lean a pallet up against somewhere. And I also, for the sake of being able to lift the lid off, I might just glue one to the top there as well. Just makes it a little bit easier to take the lid off. So I'll just get the stuff together that I need, cut the stick up, and then we'll start sticking. Okay, so I've just got some scenic glue, but I think it's essentially the same as PVA or something similar. It dries clear, obviously comes out white like you can see it in the bottle. There we go. And yeah, dries clear so you can't see it. So we'll just dab a bit of that on. So I'm going to go for some sort of foliage in the corner there. And I found, just to be a little bit liberal with this, it's fine, it dries clear and you shouldn't be able to see it after the bits go on anyway. So so yeah, I'm just going to use some tweezers just to poke that in the corner there. I'll do the same with this one. Like so. So hopefully we can see that. As I say, you can see a little bit of the white glue. We just kind of want to fluff it out a little bit. But you can see some of the white glue under there, but that will dry and you won't be able to see that. So that's not a problem. And if we just zoom back out again. So I was also considering putting just a tiny little bit just in there maybe. Before moving on to the pallets. I think it just makes this sort of stuff, just makes it look a little less clinical, is that the word? It gives it a bit more character. Maybe that's not the right descriptive term, but it just gives it a little something for you to look at when you know, dresses it up nicely. There we go. Right, so we're just going to get this pallet, and I'm probably just going to lean it up against the wall like that, and then I might put a couple of sticks sort of leant up against the wall next to it as well. See how we look with that. Right, hopefully that will be enough for it to stick on. Oh, maybe I needed more at the bottom there. Let's try that. Maybe that still wants just a tiny bit extra on the top there. There we go. Right, we'll leave that there. Hopefully that will dry and hopefully that will be stuck on. And now if we just try and do some of the sticks, and again I think I was just going to leave them leaning up against the, sorry, I just noticed that the focus is gone. There we go. Yeah, try and just lean the sticks up against the wall there. Got a feeling that's not going to stick. I ain't put enough on the bottoms. I put it all in the wrong place there, really. Let's try that again. That's a bit better. Okay, and I'll just put one more on. I need the tweezers for this one. There we go. So that's the building kind of done, and I'm just going to pop this bit on the roof now. So I might just stick it there, literally for something to look at, but also to be able to lift the roof off with ease. Hopefully that will now stick on there when it's dry. So I know we've still got wet glue, but this is where I haven't chiselled out enough of the stuff. There we go. So we've still got wet glue. Let's try and zoom out a little bit. But that's the kind of look that we're going for. A few little added bits. And we'll stick a model next to it. Maybe when I have a look at the all of the buildings that I've got, just to see what it looks like. But to be honest, I'm pretty happy with that. We'll just let the glue dry, and then that will be good to go. And I'll do a quick comparison with the building that we did before. I have got another little item that I just need to paint up, and that might just sort of sit there or something. But yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. I'll do a quick line up next to the other one and see how it looks, and then that'll be that. Tutorial done. Okay, so that's the one we've just painted, lined up next to the one that I'd already done, and yeah, I'm really happy with that. I think they both look the same, and I think they look really good on the table when we start playing. I think as and when I get hold of some more sort of scatter terrain, I might add a few more extra bits here and there. What that is, I don't know. But yeah, as I go on, I might add a few extra little bits just to kind of jazz it up a little bit. But I think overall, yeah, I'm really happy with how it's turned out. So there we go. If you've got any questions, leave a comment. Hopefully I'll do some more tutorial stuff, so if you fancy giving us a follow, then you won't miss that, and I'll try and do some reviews of various bits as well. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for those that have subscribed so far and engaged with the channel. It's really good. So thanks, and see you next time.